What's going on, Giants fans? Back at it with another New York Giants video. And in this video, I want to recap last night's preseason game where the Giants just edged out the Carolina Panthers 21-19. But before I dive into the game and my personal takeaways from it, a quickly neighborhood reminder to check us out on all of our social media if you haven't already on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube at Big Blue Avenue. We appreciate all of our fans continuing to check out our awesome New York Football Giants content. You've come to the right place to go. We're going to have a 53-man roster projection coming up, some positional battles, analysis. I'll kind of tease that towards the end of this video. But first and foremost, last night, Giants improving to 1-1 on the preseason. Led 21-3 at halftime, so it wasn't good that the Giants were outscored 16-0 in the second half. I think it speaks to the lack of depth still missing on this roster. But I do want to talk about the Giants offense and how flawless it was on that first drive. Well, near flawless is what I should say. Daniel Jones and the Giants marched down the field for a 75-yard touchdown drive on the first drive of the game. Jones went a solid 8 for 9 with 69 passing yards and 1 touchdown. This included a rush for 6 yards. That was the only rushing play of the drive, I believe. The only incompletion he had in the game, it was a beautifully designed play by Mike Kafka on the play action rollout. It was an incompletion. Waller caught the ball but dropped it following a hard hit. That was Jones's only incompletion on the night. But speaking of Darren Waller, he is a truly dangerous weapon in this Big Blue offense heading into 2023. He had 3 catches for 30 yards on that one drive alone on 4 targets. Paris Campbell also got involved. 2 of his 3 receptions of the night came on that first drive. And then Daniel Bellinger with the 4-yard touchdown, a similar play we saw last year, the play action rollout left. But don't be fooled, ladies and gentlemen. This is not the Giants playbook you're going to be seeing in the regular season. You're going to be seeing a more complex version of it once the regular season begins. This is just a little tease. I'm sure some of these plays might be sprinkled in here and there, but they don't want the NFL to be on notice this soon. Tyrod Taylor came in the game, and he was okay. I thought he had a nice touchdown pass to Jalin Hyatt, though. All the rookies looked good last night. Taylor finished his night 9 of 13, 90 yards and 1 touchdown pass. He had 3 rushes for 21 yards as well, despite getting sacked twice. I think partially because of the inconsistency on that second offensive line unit, especially Matt Pert, who I thought really struggled last night, and I still think he's on the roster bubble. Carl Banks and Bob Papa were talking to Joe Shane, especially Banks acting like Pert's going to make this roster. I don't know if that's a guarantee. I really don't know. We saw the Eric Gray touchdown, 9-yard rushing touchdown. That was under review. Gray had 16 rushing yards on the night. I think Gray has solidified himself as the number 3 running back on this roster. That was the other rookie. And then, of course, the Jalin Hyatt touchdown, a play where Taylor was hit, bad protection by the tackles, but Hyatt was wide open. And it was just a beautiful display of his speed. He is not as bad of a route runner as people make. He had to do a little high post on that touchdown. He did a streak towards the end zone and then deked out his defender a little bit on the 3rd level. So that helped him score that touchdown. Isaiah Hodgins had a quiet night as well, but he continues to make plays. Again, people are like, well, Hodgins hasn't made eye-popping plays. Hodgins is going to make plays. He's just not going to make the sexy plays. Hodgins had 2 catches for 45 yards. One of those catches set up the Giants in the red zone, I believe inside the 10-yard line on that first possession. Little concerned about James Robinson, where he is on the running back depth chart currently. He's clearly behind Gray, Breida, and Barkley. The question is, can he even make the roster over Deshaun Corbin as possibly the practice squad? I'm not so sure. Deshaun Corbin outplayed James Robinson last night, and it's not a good sign if you're in there late in the 4th quarter in preseason game number 2. Bryce Ford-Wheaton, I thought, played much better this time around. Ford-Wheaton had 2 catches for 24 yards. He's also making an impact as a gunner on special teams due to the Nick McLeod injury. So I'm interested to see how that transpires. Corbin was also a threat in the passing game for Big Blue, making 3 catches for 22 yards. Jamison Crowder and Khalil Pimpleton each had 2 catches. And then great to see Sterling Shepard back on a football field. Shepard had 1 catch for 4 yards. Most importantly, his good route running was on full display last night. Shepard possibly making a crack to make this 53-man as well. No Cole Beasley or Tommy Sweeney last night. I know Beasley was missing some practice time during the week. I think Cole Beasley has a really good shot to make this roster, and I think Tommy Sweeney should be the tight end 3 ahead of Lawrence Cager. That's how I feel right now. I was not very impressed with Lawrence Cager last night, although they did not target him too much. I think when you're looking for tight ends in the state of this offensive line, you need better blocking. And I think you can make the argument Tommy Sweeney, possibly even Chris Myrick, are above Lawrence Cager as far as positional value on this roster at the moment. Next up, I want to talk about the offensive line because it was definitely concerning. There is a lack of depth. I personally don't know why Josh Ezeudu is still in the starting offensive line conversation. I never thought he would start to open up the season, but I don't even think there should be a rotation this year. I think you got to put the best 5 out there, and you only play Ezeudu if there's an injury, and here's why. Ben Bredeson is entering a contract year. You don't know if he'll even be on the team next year. Mark Lewinsky could be a cut casualty next year, and Ezeudu would still have 2 more years on his rookie deal to play and to potentially start. Last night, and even the week before, I saw a lot of bad and negative plays from him. Defenders are easily shedding his blocks. He's constantly getting stood up at the point of attack. I'm not very high on Josh Ezeudu. I did not like the draft pick back in 2022. That was the one draft pick that I was kind of shaking my head at when Joe Schoen made it. I don't know what this coaching staff sees in Josh Ezeudu, but I hope I'm wrong. I hope he plays well. But right now, I think Bredeson and Glowinski have the 2 guard spots on lockdown. But that's pretty much my thoughts on the offense. Defensively, Bobby Okereke, the green dot, was the star of the night. 7 tackles. He looked good in the run game, helping out, playing next to Micah McFadden and Darian Beavers. Beavers, I thought, played well, had 4 tackles, displayed some good range. Micah McFadden continues to improve as well. Very mechanical tackler. How about Jordon Riley? Let's talk about this man. 7th round pick. I believe he's out of Oregon. Didn't expect much from him. Thought maybe he makes the back end of the roster. Now I'm thinking he definitely makes this roster. In fact, I think he's ahead of 2022 5th-round rookie DJ Davidson. That's how good I think he is right now. Now, don't get me wrong. This is against 2nd and 3rd teamers. These aren't against first-team players. We're not saying Jordon Riley's going to start in 2023. That's not the case. But 3 tackles and a tackle for loss. Great in run defense. He had an awesome stop on that 4th and short. I really like this guy. When you hit on late-round draft picks, it looks really good for your front office and for your coaching staff. And that is how championship teams are built. You build through the draft. And last night, all of the rookies did phenomenal. Not to mention, Joe Schoen has found some really good undrafted players over the past couple of seasons now. How about Tomon Fox? Tomon Fox was phenomenal last night. Had 3 tackles, another sack, QB hit, tackle for loss. Carter Coughlin had a special teams tackle and 2 passes defended. 1 late on that last drive when Jake Luton was trying to drive Carolina down the field. I think Carter Coughlin has solidified that linebacker number 4 spot. I think what's helped his case is that Cam Brown is unfortunately dealing with an injury. But as I mentioned in last week's video, recapping preseason week 1, I think Carter Coughlin and Cam Brown do both find their way on this roster. There's a reason why the Giants signed Ray Wilborn last week. They want more competition and Cam Brown being hurt, in addition to Troy Brown, who was waived. So as of right now, I have 5 inside linebackers making the roster, and I think Carter Coughlin really helped his case last night once again on special teams and on defense. And I do think Tomon Fox is slated in as edge number 4 behind the starters and Jihad Ward. Next up, Jason Pinnock or Dane Belton. This is a competition that I think fans should be most excited about heading into the season because both players have very high upside. Dane Belton had 2 tackles for loss last night. He ate up a screenplay. Jason Pinnock, decent in coverage, didn't have his best game. I think he got flagged at one point in the game. Pinnock clearly won preseason game 1, but I'd give Belton the edge after last night as far as who won the battle in the preseason game. As far as who's leading the battle, I still think it's Pinnock, but I think Belton is a really good safety number 3 to have on this roster. I really like the way he's been playing. The defense did have 3 penalties last night, which was not good. 2 of them were against Dexter Lawrence. One was a little hand slap, and they called that roughing the passer, 15 yards, which I think was a little ridiculous, although he did get him in the helmet. So a rule is a rule. Fortunately, that's the day of age we are in the NFL. Kayvon Thibodeau had a sack last night. Great to see. He had a sack on Bryce Young. So I was very happy with that. Special teams, they were better than last week. No field goals were attempted. The Giants scored 3 touchdowns. Much better. The tackling was good. The only downside of special teams last night, in my opinion, was the Zion Gilbert penalty, the second-year player out of FAU. Again, he also had a dropped interception, so he's really not a bad player, but he's not proving his case to make the 53-man roster. Remember, the Giants are a better football team this year. Hell, you have Darnay Holmes and O'Shane Ximines playing in the 4th quarter of a preseason game. That's not good for their chances. So if they're in jeopardy, Zion Gilbert is a long shot. At least that's how I feel. Now, my takeaways. Will Adoree Jackson actually play slot cornerback this season? I think it is very possible. You have Trey Hawkins and Deonte Banks, who have clearly earned starting reps. It's gotten so serious that Trey Hawkins might be one of the boundary corners to start week 1 against Dallas. That's how well Trey Hawkins has played in the preseason. I really like what he's done. Although Deonte Banks, he did get noticed with a left forearm wrapped last night on the sideline. He might have gotten that a little dinged up, but it was nothing serious, thankfully. Adoree Jackson, I think, might end up playing the slot this year. He's on the last year of his 3-year contract he signed back in 2021. And looking at the corner room next year, who knows? If Hawkins and Banks really shine in their rookie year, they could possibly let Adoree Jackson walk next season. You have Cordell Flott, who's still on the roster, and you could just draft another corner to develop. There's a lot of good young corners on this roster where veterans like Darnay Holmes could be in jeopardy. Roadrious Williams likely won't make this roster. Adoree Jackson, this might be his last season as a Giant. Who knows? Who knows? But the future is bright for Big Blue secondary. And the fact that all the rookies played well once again. I mean, we had John Michael Schmitz taking the lead at center. I think he had one bad rep where he gave up a pressure, but I mean, come on. No one's perfect in the NFL. John Michael Schmitz has looked like our best offensive lineman in the preseason. I mean, he's pushing Andrew Thomas right now. I mean, Thomas is clearly our best lineman by far, but as far as what we've seen in the first 2 preseason games, John Michael Schmitz has really, really impressed. But my problem is the depth on the offensive line. After the starting 5, you have Josh Azudu, who's clearly number 6. Tyre Phillips was hurt. He didn't play. Marcus McKeithen was hurt. He didn't play. So where is the depth after Josh Azudu as far as backups go? We saw Matt Pert play some swing tackle and struggle. He could make this roster, but he's on the last year of his rookie deal. I think there's a really good chance the Giants could trade for an offensive lineman come cutdown day or post cutdown day. The Giants have a lot of good wide receivers on their roster that are average to above average players. You have guys like Sterling Shepard, Cole Beasley, Jamison Crowder, older players. You could potentially trade for an offensive lineman to try to bolster that depth because right now I'm not too confident in it. Jack Anderson left with a lower leg injury last night. We don't know the severity of it at this time. So definitely a concern there. Jack Anderson was one of the key reserves last season. Shane Lemieux got some reps at center. We saw the Giants rotate linemen in and out. Glow left the game and then came back in. Bredesen got some looks at center. Shane Lemieux, as I mentioned, got some looks at center, was playing late. I still think Shane Lemieux is a question mark to make this roster. If I had to guess right now, I would go, as far as the backups, I'd go with Zudu, Tyre Phillips. If McKeithen is healthy, I'd say him. If not, he could go to short-term IR to start the season. And then you're looking at Shane Lemieux. You're looking at Matt Pert. You're looking at Jack Anderson. Those are the next guys up I think you're looking at. I think Corey Cunningham's gone. Wyatt Davis is gone. Sean Harlow wasn't here long enough. They lost Hassenauer to a season-ending injury, which sucked. He probably would have been their backup center, but now it's interesting to see what's going to happen come cut down day. And I think the offensive line is the most interesting position when you're looking at potential cut downs. My last takeaway, 10 penalties is unacceptable. Can't have it happen, especially 3 against the defense on the first drive. I know it's a preseason game, but definitely not the best look. But nevertheless, the Giants hold on to beat the Carolina Panthers 21-19. And folks, quick shout out to our sponsor. If you like to sports bet, BetUS is the place to go. You can sign up with our promo code there at Join125. Get a 125% sign-up bonus where you can bet on the go anywhere, anytime. That's BetUS, America's #1 favorite sports book, where the game begins. Folks, thank you all for watching this video. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, leave a comment if you have any questions about my analysis on the preseason game. We're on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram at Big Blue Avenue. Appreciate all of your support. And without further ado, let's go Big Blue.